Good evening. Hello and a very warm welcome to this special. So the T20 International Series is done and dusted. A 3-0 whitewash by India. But now we're looking ahead to the two-match test series. The first match of that will be played in Kanpur. But what does this mean for the team given that some of the key players from the side have been rested? And also, what will the playing 11 look like? So all those things will be discussed here. I'm joined here by Shubhayan Chakravarti. Nikhil Narayan has very kindly come back from a holiday where, if I might tell you all, he went to Sariska and spotted a tigress there. So, but here we're going to be talking about what happens next for the team, given that they are going to be playing the World Test Champions. And New Zealand being the World Test Champions. In India, yes, India are invincible at home, but will it make a difference? The fact that some of the top players, Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma, Rishabh Pant, Jasprit Bumrah, Mohammad Shami, they are not part of this series. How much of a difference will this make? Let's begin with Nikhil then. Nikhil, this is a tricky one though, right? Resting players, we've seen this now in the recent times with the bubble fatigue and all of that, players coming out and talking about how difficult it is. In a situation like this, it is an important series, start of a World Test Championship cycle, but resting these players, how do you look at it?
Yeah, Meha, I may have spotted a tigress in Sariska, but India not playing a few of their tigers, I think is a big problematic, at least for me. India is resting not just anyone, they are resting two of their best batsmen, two of their great batsmen, Rohit and Kohli. India are resting two of their best fast bowlers, Bumrah and Shami, the ace wicketkeeper Rishabh Pant and Shardul Thakur. On top of that, KL Rahul is now injured out of the two-match series, yet they are not replacing him by either Kohli or Rohit Sharma. I think there is a touch of overconfidence. I won't say arrogance, but a touch of overconfidence, which may be justified given their absolutely stunning home record in the last few years, which is one of the best in Test cricket history for any team. But I still think India is underestimating New Zealand. This is not the 216 New Zealand side. They have world-class players, WTC champions, #1 ranked Test team. By not playing more than half your first 11, India is not maximizing their chances of annihilating New Zealand, and that is my problem.
Okay, that's a valid point and that's a valid concern, but both Shubhayan and I, we sit on the other end of the spectrum where we believe that this is going to be an easy series win, but maybe we're being too optimistic. You obviously cannot take an opponent like New Zealand lightly. Having said that, Shubhayan, the fact that India have been absolutely incredible at home. You look at the record, the last series they lost at home was against England in 2012. Since then, teams have come and gone. You look at the last series that India played against England, there were matches that were done and dusted in 3 days. India won, by a huge margin. One was an innings and something. So when you look at something like that, and given that this is going to be such a busy season ahead for India, do you agree that it was the right reason to rest some of the top players?
I would agree to that point that the players needed a rest. The likes of Rohit Sharma, Rishabh Pant, they have been playing on the road since a long now. Starting from the last IPL 2020 and followed by Australia, then England at home, England away, IPL, then the World Cup. These guys needed a break after a hectic, stringent bio-bubble life where you just can't roam around outside your hotel space. So it takes a toll. Every player, the coaches, Ravi Shastri, Bharat Arun, they have spoken about it. They have said that the players are mentally exhausted. And it was pretty interesting to listen to Ravi Shastri in his farewell press conference, in his last press conference, that he said that I at my age can expect myself to lose some steam, lose some energy, but these guys, they are mentally and emotionally drained. So that is something we just can't expect a player to go on and perform for the national team under such pressure and in this bio-bubble life. And to Nikhil's point, I would say the players who have replaced the likes of Rohit Sharma or Rishabh Pant or even Jasprit Bumrah, they are very well capable. They are world-class players. They have established themselves in the international circuit, be it Mayank Agarwal, who has a double century in Test cricket, be it Shubman Gill, who won India matches in Australia. These guys are experienced players. Mohammad Siraj led an inexperienced pace attack in Australia against Australia and scripted history. So these guys, Jayant Yadav has a century, has a 5-wicket haul to his name. So these guys coming in place of Rohit, the likes of Bumrah, they are very well capable of defeating, playing in any world-class team in the world.
Yeah. I think the point which, Nikhil, you're trying to also make is that some of these players could have been rested for the T20 series and could have played the Test series, where you're saying that Test series is of utmost importance. And to that, I would say that wouldn't you wanted India to begin winning, get back to winning ways because of what happened in the World Cup? Because I think one of the ideas that Rahul Dravid and Rohit Sharma had was that, look, let's get back to winning ways and then we'll see what happens next. Because, that adds to lifting up the morale of the team and all of that. So I think all of that was considered as well.
Fair enough, but I think even if Rohit Sharma wasn't the player of the series and Ruturaj Gaikwad played, first, it would have been a great opportunity for Ruturaj, who had a great IPL, the player of the series, the best batsman of the series. And also, it would give Rohit a rest. And given how important he is as a Test opener for India in India, his record is phenomenal. He wouldn't have rested for both the Test matches. Maybe he would have rested for just one Test match. Also, Rishabh Pant. Why was Rishabh Pant playing the T20I series when Ishan Kishan could have played it? Also Virat Kohli played the last World T20 match against Namibia on the 8th of November. The Test starts on the 25th. Why is he resting from the first Test? He could have rested from the second Test. You make a statement at the start of a series. We are playing the WTC champions, #1 ranked Test team, I repeat that, who have had the wood against us in big ICC tournaments, who have been India's nemesis. India does not need to beat New Zealand. India needs to annihilate New Zealand by innings and gain back that psychological advantage. New Zealand is India's head at this moment. India need to thrash New Zealand so that whenever they meet in the future, maybe in the final of the WTC again, wherever it is, not been decided yet, India has at least some psychological advantage back. And that is my problem. You are not sending in the right message by not playing more than half of the first 11. New Zealand is sending the right message. Williamson rested T20I series. Jamieson rested T20I series in order to prepare for the Test series and clearly stated that.
There is logic to that. Given that, yes, if you look at the larger scheme of things, then this Test series becomes more important than the T20 internationals, and India could have, given how jaded New Zealand were, India could have played the likes of Ishan Kishan, in that series. But the other thing that is important, and which is of utmost importance, which even Rahul Dravid has spoken about, is the players themselves. If they ask for rest, how do you say no? I think all these players who are not part of the team of the Test side right now have all asked for rest. For a Rishabh Pant, I agree that he could have played Test series instead of the T20 international, but he's got no rest since what? 2020?
IPL 2020,
yeah. So, you're looking at some of these players who've had no rest.
Absolutely.
So,
and I'll come to counter that Rohit Sharma point, because Rohit Sharma is the captain, and with the next T20I series being played in January, he wanted at least some sort of template to be there under his presence, not under the presence of Vice Captain KL Rahul or head coach Rahul Dravid. So Rohit Sharma wanted there to be present and see out those young players who played, be it Venkatesh Iyer or be it Ruturaj Gaikwad in the nets. He wanted some sort of, a plan under his presence, not in someone else's presence. So Rohit's presence, in that T20I series had some logic behind it. But I agree that Rishabh, and the wicket keepers, we often underestimate the toil these wicket keepers take. Playing for playing in a 5-test series has its own disadvantages for a keeper's body. And Rishabh Pant, after the T20I series, he's getting rest in the South Africa, in the New Zealand Test series as well, and then he will again be on road playing against South Africa in South Africa, which will be a long tour again. So Rishabh Pant needed that sort of break to rejuvenate, find himself, find his confidence back again, get some mental rest, and take on South Africa, which is going to be a cracker of a series. India have an opportunity to create history. We anyway know that India are going to have an 80-20 or a 90-10 advantage when they play on their home soil. So that becomes, a very logical thing for the BCCI, for the Indian selectors to do, to drop some players and move forward to the phase which is built by the ECB, the England Cricket Board, that our main players will play the T20I series if the T20 World Cup is around. Our players will play the Test series if the World Test Championship holds. In England, we all know that England dominate, and they even if they don't play James Anderson, we can expect Craig Overton to come in and wreak havoc. So they have the players, and similarly in Indian conditions, we have the players. Even if Jayant Yadav played, with all the respect to him, he has been a very prudent performer in domestic circuit. Even if Jayant Yadav played, we all know what he did in his debut series, right? So the players have quality, and in Indian conditions, they are going to dominate the show.
That's right. So let's also take a look at who are the players who've been rested. Of course, KL Rahul, the news coming in today itself that he was injured, and Suryakumar Yadav has been brought in, drafted into the squad. But if you look at all these players, Nikhil, I would think that other than Virat Kohli having been given rest because he went on paternity leave, he's not taken any rest. And most of them are all format players. So you're actually looking at a team that could possibly turn around and say, hey, it's better than completely being burnt out. Let's rest at this point. And then, because South Africa becomes a grueling series, especially for the bowlers, rest them now instead of then.
I mean, for me, 17 days rest was enough from the 8th of November till 25th. I still stick my neck out and say India should have at least played some of these. These are all huge names. At least remove Thakur, all the others are big names. 6 of your biggest players. At least play half of them in the first test.
Okay, so I think we're going to agree to disagree on that, because I think that both Shubhayan and I firmly believe that this team is good enough to beat.
The replacements are good enough.
Yeah,
that's the point,
is good enough. But then again, you're right. You have a valid point in saying that are we taking this team lightly? We saw what happened in the World Cup itself. We went in with this confidence that India is going to get through to the knockout stages, and we saw what happened.
And also we lost the first test against England at home. We came back through Rohit Sharma's great 100.
That's right, Rohit Sharma was the difference there. But let's also talk about our favorite topic, the playing 11. We love to discuss that. So, given that some of these top players have been rested, now there's talk around who will make it to the playing 11. And if you look at this side, the one good thing is the conversation around Shubman Gill being in the middle order has gone off the charts, because you've already got KL Rahul injured, so Shubman Gill comes back to his preferred position. But I think Shreyas Iyer is that point there, and I don't know if you agree with me, Shubhayan, but Shreyas Iyer is a brilliant choice there. He's done the hard work. He's sat on the sidelines. He's got the game to be right there in that middle order. And given that Pujara and Rahane at some point are going to be out, at some point, it's great to just put him there and nurture him there.
Absolutely. For the number 5th spot, both Shreyas Iyer and Suryakumar Yadav are great picks. Shreyas Iyer, who we know that he has the game against spin bowling, especially after being termed as a spin basher in India's domestic circuit. I think he has that game to just what Rishabh Pant used to do in wides, that just take the game away from the opposition. Shreyas Iyer, if he gets settled in pretty quickly against the likes of Ajaz Patel, against the likes of Mitchell Santner, he can wreak havoc. He can just smash sixes for fun. And Riddhiman Shah, he also has that game of going just all out against spin bowling. And if the need be, then I think after Rahane, after Pujara, these two players, and we have Ravindra Jadeja, who is at his peak batting form. These guys can just take the game away from New Zealand, and I won't be surprised if India go on to win the Kanpur test by an innings. Sorry, Nikhil.
But you know what is interesting is, Nikhil, that if you look at the opener slot, it's like a game of musical chairs. People get injured, another one comes, put their hand up, does a good job, then he stays in the side and the other one has to wait. And once again, you've seen that happen. Shubman Gill got injured, Mayank Agarwal concussion, then injury. And somehow you have all these openers playing that musical chair. But for the seamers now, this is also important given that Shami and Bumrah are sitting out, and this just will add to what the bench strength will be like going to South Africa as well. And I know you'll keep saying that, come on, there's a series here which is important. Why do you keep talking about South Africa? But for the seamers, that's the right, I mean, we agree with that Mohammad Siraj and Umesh Yadav, obviously because of how good Umesh is at in home conditions.
Yeah, I think Umesh is your best bowler, best pacer in Indian conditions.
Yeah.
Last 2 to 3 years, he has a tremendous record in India, not overseas. Also, I think the second choice will be Siraj for what he did against Australia and in the home series against England. I don't think Ishant Sharma will play at least the first test, just because, you know, Siraj has been just a tad better. And he needs to be given a few more opportunities. Ishant Sharma is excellent. Again, if it was overseas, then I would have chosen Ishant. But at home, I will choose Siraj. I'm happy with the pace bowling unit, but I think the most of the damage, like in 2016, will be done by, you know, the great pair of Ashwin and Jadeja. They'll dig up the Kanpur wicket. Green Park will not be green; it will be brown. And Ashwin and Jadeja will, you know, rattle New Zealand. I hope they rattle New Zealand. A draw is like a loss.
A draw is like a loss, but how good has Akshar Patel been, right? You give him a debut series, he goes out and gets you 27 wickets in 3 matches at an economy of 2.9 or something. Ran through the England lineup, and you can expect him to do the same here against New Zealand as well.
And he was terrific in the IPL.
Yeah.
He was arguably the best bowler. Even Nikhil will agree. When it comes to impact, Akshar Patel was tremendous. It was heartbreaking to see him lose his main squad place in the T20 World Cup. But eventually he got a chance. He again gets a chance to you know, try and cement his place, not as a backup to Ravindra Jadeja, but a standalone player in that Indian playing 11. Of course, we know that what Akshar Patel brings to the foray. Ravindra Jadeja doesn't have that many variations as Akshar Patel has. The undercutter, England failed to read that undercutter throughout the previous test series. He kept on bowling the undercutters, and they were expecting spin, they were expecting turn, but it just kept on straight. So Akshar Patel, and he can drift the ball, he can flight the ball. He has so much of variation. We may underestimate him due to his simple Ravindra Jadeja like action, but Akshar Patel has a great range of variation in his armory, and I expect him to again steal the show, even though it will be tough with the likes of Ravichandran Ashwin in the squad. But Akshar Patel can come as a dark horse and take the series away from New Zealand. Of course, India, and I'll repeat it again, they go as a hot favourite to win this series 2-0.
They do, in fact. But the other thing being that Cheteshwar Pujara in the press conference talked about Ajinkya Rahane being an innings away from getting back to form, right? But that question needs to be addressed, Nikhil. Yes, you know, Ajinkya Rahane won you the series in Australia, scored 100 there as well. But since then, I mean, you look at his batting, and there are questions that need to be asked.
I mean, he's been an innings away for a number of innings now, and you know, and that's the problem. Since one of the greatest hundreds at MCG last year. I mean, since then, I think 19 innings, 372 runs, average less than 20, failed in 12 of those 19 innings. I mean, for a middle order batsman, a failure rate of around 63% is a lot. And Ajinkya Rahane, I mean, there are other players who can replace him. Shreyas Iyer and Surya Kumar Yadav should be given an extended run. There's Hanuma Vihari in the wings also. So why should Ajinkya Rahane keep on playing on reputation? He has to be more consistent. He might be captain for the first test, but with Kohli returning, if he doesn't perform, I mean, chances are low he won't play the second test, but South Africa, surely he will not go or should not go if he does not score big runs in this 2-test series.
But I think with Virat Kohli, he's always backed Ajinkya Rahane and Cheteshwar Pujara whenever there have been questions around it. I mean, obviously, we don't know what happens in the dressing room, but, you know, in press conferences and to media, he's always said that Ajinkya Rahane is very important to this batting lineup. So is Cheteshwar Pujara. Do you see a step like this being taken if Ajinkya Rahane does not do well?
See, it depends. If Hanuma Vihari scores big in the South Africa A tour, and the likes of Shreyas Iyer or Surya Kumar Yadav take their chance. Shubman Gill is a middle order batsman primarily for Punjab. He bats at number 3, number 4, and he knows that role pretty well. If Ajinkya Rahane or Cheteshwar Pujara, I don't think Cheteshwar Pujara is in that sort of danger zone as Ajinkya Rahane. But if Rahane fails in this series in home conditions against a New Zealand attack which is missing Trent Bolt, then I think it is done. It will be curtains for him. We won't see him play in that South Africa tour primarily, although he will be there in that squad, but I don't think he will play in the playing 11 if he misses on scoring big runs, because Shubman Gill, I feel, will come at that number 4 spot, number 5 spot, and take that game forward from the
and that's where it gets so important when players either get injured or they're out of the series. There's somebody else to stake the claim. We've seen that with other players. We've seen with what KL Rahul did, and who came in place of Mayank Agarwal. And so it's important for whoever gets the opportunity. So this is a big opportunity for Shreyas Iyer, who's been waiting in the wings for a while now. Finally, he will get the opportunity, is what we are guessing, in the middle order. But that's it from us, Shobhayan and Nikhil. Do keep watching News 9 for all the latest from the world of sports. For now, goodbye. Thanks for watching.